Selections, the human music recommendation service. My name is Liam Flanagan and I'll be your musical guide, recommending you the best in music wherever and whenever it came from. You're currently watching our interview series where each month I interview a guest curator. These curators know music inside out and we'll be discussing top quality recommendations in depth. Everybody, I want you to welcome Abi Whistance to Eclectic Selections. How are you today, Abi?
I'm good, yeah, really good. Back from Birmingham, hometown of Leeds. Doing good.
Great stuff. I was about to say, actually, on my notes, my first thing is that you're originally from Birmingham, but you moved to Leeds in 2018, where you've established
Yeah.
yourself as part of the local music scene and also supporting others with your own website to the local, which has now become, from what I hear, a fully fledged PR company, which is impressive.
Yeah, so I started it while I was at uni. So Leeds is like my second home. I've lived here for quite some time now. And when I finished university and I got a job that I have now, so I'm a journalist now for the Yorkshire Evening Post, I've passed it along to a lot of the university students at Leeds Uni to take on it, and they use it as part of LSR for contacts and things like that. So it was originally my project that I used to give myself a bit of a boost in terms of journalism, and now hopefully it's doing a similar thing for people still at university, I'd like to think.
That sounds great. It sounds like a really good project there.
Thank you.
And then you mentioned being a journalist. I see you've got credits in Clash magazine, you work for the Yorkshire Evening Post, and you're also a radio presenter at BBC Radio Leeds and Leeds Dance Community.
Yeah, so I do a lot of freelance radio work. I was the permanent presenter on LDC. So I did the Monday to Friday slot. I think it was 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Or it was like a year ago now. So I did that for a year. So I was on BBC Scotland recently to talk about Glastonbury.
That sounds great. And I'm sure they're all more than lucky to have you. I did have another question and I wasn't sure whether I was going to use it or not. So I'll use it and then I can always edit it out. But
Yes,
did you ever want to play a musical instrument?
Yeah, so I do play musical instruments. I play the guitar like pretty okay. I'm not very good at tabs, but I can play chords fine and have done for a long time. Ukulele, banjo, again, anything with strings, I've probably been there and tried it. I realised from quite a young age that I really like talking about music and I really like writing about music. And I don't really enjoy playing it as much. So I leave that to other people.
The guitar thing makes a lot of sense with the music that you've selected.
Yeah, it's weird because like I don't really listen to a lot of that stuff anymore. It was really fun going through stuff that I felt was representative of the music that I like now. Because I listen to a lot of kind of like house music and dance music now and hip hop, but it was a bit of a throwback going back into some of the recommendations that we've got coming up. So it was nice actually.
Okay, so we're going to start with, and apologies to any Portuguese people watching, but Jorge Ben Jor. It is the album Jorge Ben. So this is a Brazilian, he's a bit of a Brazilian legend, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's one of my favourite Tropicana and soul singers of all time. Most known for his track Taj Mahal, which Rod Stewart ripped off, if anyone's ever heard that. Yeah, he admittedly stole it off George Ben. He went to Brazil on tour, I think, and then came back and wrote Do You Think I'm Sexy, which is the exact same melody as a famous George Ben story.
But yeah, he was really pivotal with his Tropical, which is a fusion of funk and psych rock and samba and bossa nova. I know it's funny because there's a little bit of a link between the first two recommendations that you made, in that George had to change his name in 1989 because George Benson got some of his royalties.
Oh, did it? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I thought that was a nice little fact about this release.
George Ben historically has just been screwed over and over again and just not given the credit he deserves. So lost out on royalties, ripped off by Rod Stewart. I'm not sure if it's popular knowledge that his song Maskinada is like a really famous football song now, like a football chant. I'm not sure if people know that it's his song. So yeah, famously and historically.
Which football?
Do you know the one where it's
Yeah.
I think it was when the World Cup went to Brazil. So from that again, so historically just ripped off over and over again.
Yeah, that does seem to be the theme running through his story. And yeah, again, like on that theme, he's been sampled many times in lots of different genres: hip hop, house, drum and bass. Is that how you discovered him?
No, actually, I've always been a really big fan of samba. So I just stumbled across him through that. I've heard a lot. I actually own a lot of the remixes that people have done of Mascanada. But no, I came across him like quite organically, really, as a kind of Brazilian soul singer. Him and Tim Maia for me have been really pivotal, and I've always loved him for that. I like the remixes he does, or remixes that people do of his music, but nothing beats just classic George Ben off that self-titled album for me.
And why that specific track? It was the track you chose was "Take It Easy, My Brother Charles."
Yeah, so this is a really funny story. So I've got it here. So this is a box set, a Mr. Bongo box set, and it's a 7 in this box set that came out last year for Record Store Day. But my friend's called Charlie, and he often drinks a little bit too much, or is having a bit too much of a good time, too late at night sometimes. And it became a bit of a running joke between me and him, but also in our friendship group, that when Charlie was pushing the boundaries a little bit, we'd all sing "Take It Easy, My Brother Charles" by George Ben, or put it on as a bit of a warning.
That's a good story.
Yeah.
It's nice when you have a personal connection to it like that. And Brazil is somewhere that you want to go and live for a bit.
Yeah, like I've always wanted to. Again, I don't know how plausible that is. We were talking a little bit earlier off camera about living anywhere in the world, really, in Europe, but also outside of Europe. It's a big commitment, really. But if things were different, if I learned Portuguese, which I tried for a little bit, but I'm not getting very far. If I managed to learn Portuguese, I would probably go and live and work there as a journalist. But whether or not they'll take me and whether or not I'm good enough writing in Portuguese, I don't.
There's always time.
Plenty of time.
So now we're on to Motor Booty Affair by Parliament. So you chose a very different type of song for this particular recommendation. It's what I read online, a brilliant quote, that it is arguably the best song about a liquid love affair between a dolphin and a mermaid ever recorded. And also it's been described as a surrealistic ballad. So this is not what obviously Parliament are usually associated with. I mean, I think it's better to say funk bangers. And so this is an interesting choice of track.
Yeah, so they're a little bit different with this. I mean, like Parliament do have their softer moments, but so I don't have the album with me, but I have the 7. And it's the B-side of Aqua Boogie, or I never remember this, I always have to read it off it. Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua
I do that with a lot of Parliament Funkadelic type.
Yeah, so it's the B-side of that. And again, I bought this 7-inch for Aqua Boogie and then listened to the B-side when I got it and was just fell in love with it. It is a lot softer, but it's also really like, the only way I can describe it is like funk face, that when you're listening to it, you're like, oh yeah, it's got that vibe to it. It is,
I know what you mean,
slightly bizarre, like about a dolphin. But yeah, I think it's just fantastic.
It fits very well with the overall theme of the album being all about these Atlantean style people who then, I always forget to say his name, Nose devoid of funk, Atlantis, but he can't swim, so it obviously fails miserably. So then they teach him to dance or something. It's a very typical Parliament funk idea. It's very silly, and they get very carried away with it. I always thought it was interesting, though, that Parliament are always a bit overlooked or underrated compared to Funkadelic. It feels like the critics, and maybe that we're also guilty of this sometimes as fans, turn their nose up a bit at it because it's not got that. You can't hook it onto, oh, it sounds a bit like Sly and the Family Stone. Oh, it sounds a bit like Hendrix, because Funkadelic has that, but Parliament, not so much. Parliament is much more funk, and later on, maybe more like almost a big, they're veering towards disco and electro. So they're definitely more of a pure funk group. And I think it's a general thing with funk. It's weird that it was so popular and so well regarded at the time, and yet it's one of those genres that seems to have gone down in terms of like the esteem that it's held in and the amount that it's talked about. It's barely ever done at all. And I remember being particularly annoyed. I remember reading it. There was finally a piece on Parliament Funkadelic in Uncut magazine years and years ago. And it's finally, they've written about something that isn't miserable white blokes. And then you start reading it, and you're like, it's literally all about the drugs that they're taking. There's very little about any of the music at this point. But do you feel the same? Do you feel that it's a genre band that's sort of overlooked?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Everyone always talks about George Clinton, Funkadelic, and that's where a lot of the attention's drawn. But for me, I've always been more Bootsy Collins, Parliament. I love Funkadelic and I love George Clinton, but Parliament for me are maybe slightly more soulful and slightly less. They're a little bit more laid back. They're also a little bit more experimental. They can be really strange. Obviously, with a lot of Parliament records, they do all those weird voices and there's characters that you were talking about before. That's always been really fun to me. And even when they are a little bit theatrical and a bit crazy, and maybe at times it cuts through the music a bit with the voices where they're all shouting at each other in weird accents. There's something about Parliament for me that's always stood out. And like I said, maybe it's because they're a little more Bootsy influence than they are Clinton, perhaps. I definitely resonate with Parliament and Bootsy more than I do Funkadelic and George. And maybe it's because those groups belong to one and the other.
Yeah, George Clinton is the brains. He's an interesting guy because he is the least musically talented of the 30, 40 musicians involved, but he oversees it all. He orchestrates it all, but he always has. This actually neatly brings me on to the next thing I actually had to talk on. But he always has a band leader who is the arranger, the person who has usually the most musical talent. And one of my favorite musicians of all time is Bernie Worrell. And Bernie Worrell was the band leader, musical director of both groups until this album. And that's when Junie Morrison from the Ohio Players joined Parliament. He became the band leader for Parliament when this was the first album he did that. And it's interesting because if I've listened, because I haven't listened to this album for a while, so I listened, and then I'm doing the research while listening. I just thought that was Bernie doing his wiggly, squiggly, moogie bits in the background. But no, I'm not as aware of the Ohio Players stuff. I know Junie is fantastically talented bloke. So now I've listened to it a couple more times. I'm like, Bernie is almost definitely playing on the record, but it is less in his trademark style. It is more leaning towards Junie Morrison, but it still feels very much a Parliament record. But they're evolving towards this new sound.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, like I say, first time through, I was just like, yep, there's Bernie. And then second time, I'm just like, oh, no, hang on. Yeah, there is actually a lot more going on. It's actually with two of these, you've just given me a kick up the bum to do things that I've been meaning to do for a while. Parliament is one, but the artists I've been meaning to listen to again. And there's another one that's coming up now.
Oh, that's exciting. You've not told me about this, so I'd like to see which one it is.
Thank you all for watching this video. If you want to support Eclectic Selections and join our community, there are various ways that you can do that. Number one, you can like, comment and subscribe right here on YouTube. This helps our video get noticed by the YouTube algorithm, and it helps other music lovers like you find great music. You can too follow us over on Twitter. Here you'll get the latest news and you'll get extra recommendations. You'll be able to keep up to date with everything Eclectic Selections. You can join our Ko-fi, which is just like Patreon, so you can support us and you'll get access to extra content like private playlists with loads of recommendations, extra video recommendations from our guests, all that good stuff. And there's more coming in the future. Join our Discord community where you can chat with other music lovers and myself about music and other subjects too. All the links for all of that down in the description in our link tree. Thanks again for watching, and until next Thursday, keep it eclectic.